Hello and how are you? My name is Mahino Barak and I welcome you to our 8th lecture of learning how to make mobile interfaces for Flutter apps. So in this series of videos we are covering a lot of different scenarios that you may need when you're doing what? When you're implementing your mobile applications. So today we are going to proceed from where I stopped in the previous lecture. But if this is your first lecture, I recommend you to watch the previous videos. But if you want particularly to watch these topics that we're going to cover in this video, still it is okay. You can just download the Scratch folder, the Scratch project, and the link is the description of this video. And you put that project in your computer. It's where you'll start. It's the one that you start with, because in that project it comes with a lot of assets, images and packages that we are using. And if you have it, then you'll not need to suffer so much looking for the images that we're going to use for examples and the rest. So with that much said, we always do 40 minutes. So I'll start our counter. Where is it? It is here. I'll start our counter, then after 40 minutes we'll see how we go to we have a break. So with that much said, let's go straight into our today's business. So today we're going to see how we can create different kind of buttons in Flutter. For example, we're going to see how we can do these kind of basic buttons. We'll also go ahead and see how we can do these kind of utility buttons. We'll go ahead and see how we can do these kind of fab buttons. We're also going to go ahead and look and see how we can make the toggle buttons like these ones. So we're going to cover all the things that you may need to know about the Flutter buttons. So I hope you're ready to do this with me. If you are, then let's go straight into our today's business and get started. So as I told you, you need that startup project, and if you have it already, then you don't need to worry. So this startup project will look something like this one. Okay, so once you have it, you'll have all the assets and the packages already set for you, so that you concentrate on the user interfaces, not on the dummy data, on the resources. Okay, so this is the project that you always work with. So I'm going to create another subsection for buttons. So I'll come to our main route, this one here, and then I'm going to create another subsection that I'm going to call buttons. Okay, and then after we are going to put our first example there. So the first example that we're going to look, I'm going to see how I can do these basic buttons. Okay, basic buttons like these ones. So I'll just simply come here and I put basic buttons. Like this, then I save. Then you have here basic buttons. So after doing like that, we're going to create a screen that is going to be taking care of those basic buttons. So I'll come here and create a special folder for buttons, and then inside there we're going to put a stateful widget for buttons. That's our buttons basic file, and then we can call stateful widget, and then call it buttons basic. Let's say buttons basic screen. Okay, then after we'll go ahead and import the stateful widget. So we can remove this one here, the key. All right, so after doing that, so the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to make this button appear to be, when someone clicks here, you should be taken to to these buttons. So how do you do that? We'll just simply come to our main route and change this one too. So now if someone clicks here, you'll be taken to the screen of buttons. So once we have that, we're going now to go ahead and do what, and start implementing what you need. Okay, so I'll come here to the screen of buttons, this one here, and then I'll already written my code, so I'll just go to where the code is. These are the basic buttons. All right, so the first thing that we're going to begin with, we need to do something like this. So let's begin by a scaffold. Okay, so just simply first create a scaffold. So I'll come here and remove this placeholder and put what, a scaffold instead. Import it. Okay, this scaffold, it will have an up bar. It will have maybe a background color. An up bar, which is going to have this word buttons. So this up bar, I showed you how we import it. So if you have the Scratch project file that I tell you about, you'll be able to get this up bar. So I import it and then I save. So I can see here basic. I can put here basic buttons. All right. So after doing that, the next thing we have now the up bar. So the next thing I'm going to do is putting here the single scroll view, so that this should be scrollable. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. So come here and put body. Let me first disable Copilot. All right. So come here and put body and put single scroll view. So this single scroll view, it's going to take some paddings of 15 all sides like this, and then after it's going to take what? It's going to take scroll direction of vertical. All right. So after doing that, the next thing it's going to take now the child, which is going to be a column. So just simply come here and put child, and it's going to be a column. So this column will take what? Will take children. All right. So after having those children, so we're going to begin by creating these buttons. These buttons. So create those buttons. As you can see, they're in a row. So we're going to begin by creating a simple row. So here under children, we're going to create a row. That's going to take what? That's going to take children. All right. So after doing this, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put our first spacer. For example, if you want them to be spaced equally. Okay, so you can put spacer and then you put our first button. So the button we're going to do is the elevated button. Okay, so elevated button, then you close. So you can import the style that we have for you. So it says style, and then you say elevated button dot style from, and then this style already come with what the Scratch folder that I gave you. Okay, so say style from, and then you put here the background color, then you can specify the color that you want, and then after we put the text, which is going to be the child of this elevated button, and then the text is going to be like a normal button, and then you make the text color to have the style of color white. Okay, gray on the 800 pixels. So here on pressed, we are not doing anything. We just pass on press method and we don't do anything. So you can pause the video and you see how I've created this kind of button. So if I save it, I'll have this button here. Okay, so the spacer is pushing it to this side. You get it, So you have that kind of beautiful button. So let us go ahead and add another spacer here, and then we add another button, this one, okay, which is having the primary background. Okay, so I'll just simply copy this and then come and paste this one here. So that is how you can create this kind of button. I hope it is kind of self-explanatory. Once you created the first button, the next button you can create it like that one. However, this one is giving it the primary color of blue. So here it can be the primary color of your application, and then you'll end up having such a nice nice button. Let's put again spacer, and then you see we go ahead and put this accent button, a button that is having the background color of accent color. Okay, so I'll just simply copy it. So here they're just same buttons, but the difference is they have different colors. Okay, that's the difference. The difference is the color. So you see, you have here the accent button that is having that kind of pink color. Okay, so you can create your own buttons with your own colors that you want of your own choice, and then be able to achieve such a nice and beautiful thing. So after creating buttons, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to see how I can create the text buttons. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this row, and I'm going to explain everything. So I'll just simply come and put this next to this row here. Okay, let me go ahead and explain. So you have here the spacer, like the way we had here. So everything is the same, but here the difference is it is text button, is not a elevated button. It is a text button. So it is the text that is going to be appearing most compared to other features like the background, the way the previous button was. So you can see those buttons. Sometimes they put it maybe when they want to tell someone to retry, or when it is neighboring the main button and there are two options. So you can use the text button. So the text button, the main content that will be shown is the text, and even the color that will be setting is the text color. It will not have a background. It will be just kind of transparent. So that is the text button. So you can just do the same thing and then do them 3 times, and then you can see how I change the color here, foreground color, and then I give it color of transparent, and then the color of the text, I give it the primary color. So you see when I click here, it will bring that kind of the interface, or that kind of appearance, so someone can know that it is it is a button. So you see, until they click on. So in case they say maybe there is something that, okay, read our terms, you can put the before you sign up. So this can be a button of signing up, and then the terms of agreement or terms and condition can be in this kind of a button of text. So that is how you can do the text button. So another type of button is the button that you can disable. Okay, you can as well disable button. Okay, so to disable button, you just simply give it you give it a state, and then you do you disable it. Okay, I'm going to copy this and then I explain everything step by step. Okay, so these are just normal elevated button like the one we did at first there. Then you give it foreground, and then you give it set material state, and then here you say if it contains disabled, then it should be it should be disabled, or it should be set at none. So here in the foreground, you say resolve with color, and then you pass the color that you want, and then you do then you give it if it contains disabled, should be doing it should be displayed as disabled. So by doing like this, you'll be able to achieve a button that is that it is disabled, like this one. All right, so these others, they are just same button that we just created in these top examples, just elevated button. And in this elevated button, you have given you have given it the foreground of color white, and also the text of the color of the primary. So you'll see this text button, this elevated button that is having the background color of white, still it is different from the text button. The text button looks really much more like a text, where it does not even have the borders. But the elevated button, even though it is having a white background, still it will show you that it is a button by kind of applying the shadow, as you can see. So that's how you can do elevated buttons and accent button that are based on text. I hope you can see that. All right. Okay. So other types of buttons, these are icon buttons. For example, you want to have this kind of plain icon button. So how can you achieve it? Okay, so let's go ahead and put a divider so it can separate our normal buttons from the next button that we're going to do. Okay, come here, say the row, come back to the column here, and put a part divider. So you'll see our thin divider has been created there. Okay, so after putting the divider, so the next thing you're going to do what? You're going to create the row of these 3 buttons, of icon buttons. So I'm just going to copy it and explain it. Okay. Alright, so you can see it is just like a normal button, but it is having what we call icon button. So those are the ones that we call icon buttons. Okay, they accept icons and they can look as neat as you can see them. And then also after putting the icon button, you can format it. So you see it is very simple, just 2 parameters. Okay, the icon itself and then the open or the on press. Okay, that's how you design what? Icon buttons. So then lastly, you can as well make this floating what? The floating action button, the one that is always there on bottom. You can also as well use it anytime. And then for it is also like kind of icon button, but for it has what? It has the background with it. Okay, so if I come here, I'll just simply say floating action button. That's the button, and then you can give it a tag, and then you give it a color, background color, what you want it to appear in background, and then you give it an elevation of, for example, 302, and then you do what? And then you do what? And then you add an icon. For example, you can see here, just simply put a child and then give an icon that you want to display there. Okay, so when you do like this, you'll be able to do what? To get beautiful icons like these ones. I hope you can see them. Okay, so instead of you suffering your icon, you better know such kind of things, and then you'll just be implementing them in different UIs accordingly. So this is an elevated button. They may look the same, but every button has its uniqueness, that it doesn't look the same depending on the data. Okay, so that is how we create what? That's how we create what? Basic buttons. Okay, so we're going to see now how you can create what? Utilities button. If you want to make something like this, how can you do it? Members. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do this kind of user interface. Okay. So what we're going to begin by creating a what? A fresh screen, and then that fresh screen is we're going to see how we can come up with something like this. So I'll come to our screen here, and then I'm going to create a new, completely new screen. So come here to buttons, and then right click new, and then say file, and then say buttons. This one we call it what? Utilities. So utilities buttons. Utilities.dat. And then we create a stateful widget. A state. Okay. The word is not correct, the extension. So I'll go ahead and rename it. Refactor rename .dat. Okay, so we're going to put here stateful widget, and then we call it buttons utilities. Press enter, then come and import this one. Alt and enter, then you say import, then you can remove these keys. So after doing that, you're going to add this screen to our menu, so that when someone clicks on button utilities, they should be taken to this screen. Okay, so go to our main route, which is here, and then come and duplicate this one, Ctrl D, and then come and paste here the class that we just created, and we import it, and then we call this one buttons what? Utilities buttons, or button utilities. All right, so after doing like that, now if I press here, should be able to take us to this screen, which just has a placeholder here. So I'm going to remove this placeholder and put a scaffold, and then we should have something nice like this. All right, so after doing that, let's go ahead and start now implementing. So come to our code. Buttons in utilities. So we're going to begin by adding our app bar here. So we'll begin by adding our app bar. So I'll import it. There you go. So you have button utilities. Then after, we're going to go ahead and add our heart and add our body. So our body is going to have single child scroll view. Okay. Then this single child scroll view, of course, is going to have a child. But before we give it a child, let us have give it a scrolling direction. Of course, going to be vertical, and then you give it a child. So the child that we're going to give it is going to be just a container and then a column. I don't know whether this container is helping anything here. Nope. So you can just give a column straight away. So the single scroll view, let's give it a column, so you can add there multiple items. So it's going to give it children, and then the column we're going to begin by adding this user interface. So we're going to say we're going to design this one. So to design this section, we're going to begin with creating a container that's going to help us to create some padding and separating it from other UIs. Okay, so let's go ahead and design the container. So container, open bracket. So this container is going to have a child of column. So why do you need to put column? I mean, it's going to have a child of column. So why do you need to put column? It's because you want to put this first item on top and then you put this one next to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put column. So go ahead and put children, child, and say column, and then it's going to have children, and then after we're going to give it padding. This icon, we're going to create this icon and give it some padding. So I can just copy this and explain it. Okay, so I import these colors. Okay, and then I say this icon is having this color. So you can see this one is just let me explain it. It is just padding that has edge insets of 25 all sides, and then it has a row inside it, and this row it is having icon at beginning, which is this icon, and then we have a container, an empty container, or you can put a sized box that has width of 25 and then the text of morning pizza. You see, you can do something like that in that way. I hope it is not complicated. You can pause the video and also do it. All right, so after doing that, we're going to go ahead and now start putting this next, which is going to be a row, and put these next buttons that you're seeing. So to do that, we just simply go ahead and create a row. Let me go ahead and create a row, and then give it children. Okay, so after giving it children, so the first child is going to be a container that is going just to separate this button from the beginning here. Okay, so it's going to be 20 plus 25, which is going to... Okay, so there you go. So it's going to have that space. Now after putting that space, let's go ahead and now put the elevated button. So here, you see we're implementing the button that we've just learned. So put there, elevated button, and then you give it a style of white, and then give it a child, which is going to be forced to stop, and then give it background of black, and then give it a on press listener. Okay, and then save. Then we'll have such kind of button. So you can see it is not like rocket science. It's not so complicated. You can pause the video and you try this out. You see, you have that kind of button. Then after, we're going to put a space that's going to separate that button from the next button, this one. That's going to be an install. All right, so go ahead and put that, and then also put an elevated button with those colors, and then put the word uninstall. Hope you can see that. So just an elevated button that is having this style and a pink color, and then the text that inside there is an install, and then the color of the text is kind of white. All right, you see, you'll have that kind of user interface with such buttons. Okay, so you can think creatively of how you can use such kind of an interface, or even modify it. So there we go. So we are done with this first section, so we can proceed with the next section by putting this user interface. Okay, this is not our today's topic, but let's go ahead and do it. These are the main topic, but let's go ahead and do this one just for the sake of learning. Okay, so I'll go ahead and create another section here. So for the sake of learning, we're going to go ahead. So this is a container that you're working with, and below this container I'm going to put a divider of height 15. Okay, let's go ahead and put a divider. I think it should come in this column. Alright, sorry, this is a container, and then after putting that container, we're going to separate the two. We're going to put a divider. So after putting the divider, this divider should come here in this column. Right, so after we're going to put now our next column that's going to contain these items. Okay, so this column is going to just have this icon and then this word storage, and then followed with this total, and then with how can display that. So you can put in the same column, or you can just create a separate column again. Just collapse this one so it cannot confuse you. Okay, so you have this in the parent. Let me collapse this. So we are putting all these one in the child of the scroll view of the single child scroll view. Okay, so put after the divider. The next thing we're going to put our column. And then inside that column we give it children, and then after we're going to give it alignment of start. So on top of this column put alignment of start, and then we go ahead and give it some padding, so you can be able to create this kind of an icon. So give it padding, and then say padding, you can put even all, and then put 25, and then after you inside that one you give a row, and then in the row the first we put an icon. After putting the icon and give it this color, you put a separator that's going to separate this icon from the word storage, and then put the text of storage. Okay, so by doing like this, your items are going to be in a row with storage, with the word storage. I hope you can see that, though I cannot see our divider. I don't know why. Let me give it maybe color of red. Yeah, you can see it is there, but you cannot see it clearly. But you can as well increase its thickness. Now you give it 1, something like that, and then you give it a gray color. Yeah, and then maybe you can say shade 300 if it is shouting so much. So you can have such kind of a divider. So you see ours is kind of, so it was there but it was not looking clearly. So alright, so after doing that, we have now, you see how I've done I've done this, having the word storage and then the icon and then the word storage there. Alright, so after doing that, let's go ahead and put the word total. So this total is going to be in a what? In a row, a column. It's going to be, let me just copy it and explain it because it's not the main topic. Go ahead and import progress static. And you'll have something like that. Okay, so let me explain everything step by step. So after putting the storage on top here, so the next thing, we created a row. Okay, after creating a row, we give it children. You give it children, and then you give it expanded. So expanded will make it spend 100% width. Okay, and then you give it flex 1, so it should be 100% of the space that is available. Then after, we created a what? A container inside that row, and we gave it a column. Okay, so the advantage of creating this row is to make sure that it is going to spend 100% of the what? Of the available width. Okay, so after doing that, so this container here is the one that is here, that is hidden. Let me give it a color, and you see red, so you can see it. There's a container there that you cannot see, 8 and say 5, because you may ask, like, why did you create a row? You see, there's this container that is pushing this one to here. That's why you created a what? That's why you created a row, but it is invisible. Okay, so we have expanded, the one that starts from here up to the other side. Then we have a column that is going to arrange the total and these numbers. Okay, so after doing that, we have a height of 8, and then we have here the text that is going to show maybe the size of the storage. Okay, and then it is having this style and this font size. Then you give it a height of 5, and then you give it we create a progress static bar, which is progress static.get flat progress. Then you pass the total and then the minimum that is remaining. So by doing like this, you'll be able to achieve this kind of static progress. So it's 70 and it's remaining is 20. Okay, so you can change these numbers if you want. You can say 100 and this remaining is maybe 30%, something like that. Then you'll be able to achieve something like this. And then after, you create now a row that is going to have these two. Okay, so it's going to be expanded, and then another thing is both of them are going to be expanded. And then the first expand, you give a column and specify the up, and then the word 9.40 MBs, this one. And also do the same on the other side. You said up this side, and then you said data, that amount. So by doing like this, you'll be able to achieve such kind of user interface. So you can see how you implement your buttons in that way. Okay, so go ahead and challenge yourself and do such kind of a user interface. You can even do it in a different way. So that's how you can do that. But remember, this was not the main topic. This is just helping you to learn many ways of how you can implement these things. So you can pause the video and also try this. The remaining bottom item. You can even see it from here. So pause the video and try this one by yourself. So after doing that, we can proceed. So this one, I'll just copy it and paste it. I'll not explain it. Just paste it here, but I'll not explain it. It's on the main thread. So you can have such kind of an item. Okay, so I hope we are together. Something like this. Okay, so you can do such a thing. Challenge yourself and do such a thing. All right, let's proceed. So you have seen how you can create utility buttons, or how you can place buttons into utilities. Then let us proceed and see how you can create this kind of fab button. Okay, this one, a floating button. All right, so to create that kind of button, of course, I've already seen it in different user interfaces. Let's look at something that is a little bit challenging. Got how that's in the middle. Okay, let's see how I can create this kind of a button that is having a more okay, like when you create it, it opens other buttons. We call it what? This button that has more. So that's what we're going to create, this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and face that. So let's go ahead and create a fresh screen, or you can duplicate the screen that we had. Let's duplicate this one and just remove some content to save time. So I'll just simply come here and then come here, buttons, say fab more, and then after I come and copy this and select and then search it and rename it. Alt and enter to rename. Okay, so I'll just simply come with this one, call it fab more. Okay, so you can change the icon, the naming here, and say fab more. So after doing this, then you're going to go ahead and do what? We're going to go ahead and add this one in our main screen. So to add it in the main screen, we just simply come to the main route, okay, and then duplicate this one, and call it what? Fab buttons, fab more, whatever. Then come and paste here the class that you want. Sorry, this is the class, here. Come and paste it here and then import it. All right, so let's go to that. Then when you click here, you're able to go there. So I'm going to remove up to the scaffold. Okay, let's remove everything up to here. At least you guys can do up to this level. So that's there. So we're going to see how you can achieve this. Don't mind about these list because we'll come to them. Right now we just focus on buttons. How can we achieve such a thing? Okay, so to achieve such a thing, we're going to have our normal floating button, this one, floating button. Okay, so as we have our floating button, we're going to have our normal what? We're going to have our normal floating button. Okay, so we want when someone clicks on the floating button, you should go ahead and expand these items. Okay, so how do you approach that? We come here and then add floating button on the scaffold, add floating, and then in this floating button we are going to call it what? Speed dial builder. This isn't just the name of a widget, a name of what? A name of the function. You can call it anything. In this case I call it build speed dial, something like that. Okay, so can call it there, and then after I go ahead and create it. Alt and enter, create method. So this method is going to return a what? A widget. And then in this widget, it's going to do the logic of what? Of building it. Okay. So I'm going to return this feature. This widget called speed dial. Okay. Speed dial. This. So you import it. Okay. So all right. So this floating button is just calling this. So here we say return speed dial. So this speed dial, it is going to take a few things. We're going to take elevation, like how do you want to be elevated, and then it's going to take also the animation, like the animation icon. Okay, so after giving it those two, the next thing we're going to give it, the theme color, so you can import those themes. All right. So after we're going to give it the how you want it to animate, so you can say animate linear. So if you press here and put dots, then you see different kind of animation that you want, that you may try out. So me, I'm going to keep it simple and just keep the animation of what? Of linear. So after doing that, we're going to give it what? We're going to give it a background color of accent, so it can look a little bit standing out. Alright, so you import the accent color. And then after, we're going to give it now the children. So like, okay, when someone clicks on it, what should open, okay? What should open? So we're going to give it what it takes the children now. So we give it children, and then in this children is where you do what? You pass item that you want to be expanded, all the things that you want to show when someone clicks on it. So the first item that you want to do is just build child, and then you give it a what? An icon and an elevation, just like you always do with other buttons. An icon, an elevation, and then it is speed die child, and then an icon and elevation, so you can format the icon that you want, and then it will have the on tap listener, like in case someone clicks on this one, what should happen. And then you can also do the rest for the remaining one. Like this. So if I save, I'll have such kind of what? Such kind of a button. So when I click, you see, it is able to create that kind of a block on the main UI, and then show me these icons. And you know, these icons you can do what? You can format them as you want, in any way that you want. So that is how you can achieve such a what? Such a speed dial, okay? Or such an expanding what? An expanding button. So our time is up. Let's see if we come back, so you can as well even attach text. Okay, you can as well attach text. Okay, so by just simply passing the parameter that of text. Okay, so another thing, let's see what we may need to look at when you come back. We'll look at the toggling of these buttons. So we have a lot of more to do with buttons. So let's go ahead and have a short break. Then we come after that break, we're going to look at material buttons, and also maybe the toggle buttons, and to see how we can learn from all these things. And then also the outline buttons. Yep, backdrop is not there, so you see also how I can implement such kind of buttons. All right, so let's go ahead and have a short break of 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, 7 minutes in fact, so 15 past 3, we should be back for the next session. So let's go ahead and have a short break. 15 past 3, we should all be back.